This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop. Yeah, stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy!
Been a long education.
Yeah, you know, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
Good morning. Welcome to the Steve Gruber Show. I'm Duran Martinez on a Free-for-All Friday. Let me know, Freaky Friday, Frustrated Friday, whatever your Friday is for you today, that's what it'll be. I'm just kind of easy that way. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966 if you'd like to join the conversation today. Anything you'd like to talk about? You want to talk about the upcoming debate? You want to talk about the Lions? Nah, not so much. The fast approaching hunting season for a firearm deer. I don't know. Whatever you want to talk about, we can do so. And it seems, speaking of hunting and fishing and all things outdoors, real quickly, and we'll get to this a little bit later on, but I was reading a trending story yesterday about the possibility of Bass Pro Shops putting an offer in to buy Cabela's. How does that work? It's like Ford buying Chevy. It's like Biggie buying Tupac. I don't get it. But, I mean, look, I understand the world of retail and of business. I understand this whole thing. But when you have two so similar companies, one buying the other, where does the loyalty go? Because I prefer the Bass Pro Shops, but will go to Cabela's. Steve, on the other hand, probably the other way around. But it's interesting, and it's something that I'll be watching very closely. And then who knows, in the world of mergers, this could all fall through. But it's something that caught my eye yesterday. Again, if you'd like to join the conversation, 888-900-9966 here on the Michigan Talk Network. Today's employment report from the Labor Department is being closely watched for signs of slowdown in the pace of hiring, which could in turn influence Federal Reserve policymakers considering an interest rate hike. In August and September, hiring is held down as faltering global economies and stronger dollar cuts into the U.S. manufacturers. Overseas sales lowered corporate profits. Worries over China's slowdown also likely spooked some employers. Those headwinds lowered job gains to just 136,000 in August and 142,000 in September. A survey by FactSet predicts hiring in October added 185,000 jobs. The October unemployment rate is expected to remain 5.1% for a third straight month. Economists say any gain above roughly 150,000 would likely also keep Federal Reserve policymakers on track to raise interest rates in December. Egyptian police are carrying out detailed security checks around the airport in Sharm el-Sheikh, the resort from where the doomed Russian plane took off last weekend. Dozens of buses are waiting outside the airport with the line stretching up to half a mile as police inspect each vehicle. British tourists who've been stranded since last Saturday's crash will start flying home from the Sinai Peninsula on Friday. Police personnel records show an Illinois officer who staged his suicide to make it look like he was murdered had a troubled job history. Fox Lake Lieutenant Charles Glinowitz records records were released last night, and they show suspensions, sexual harassment allegations, and complaints that he intimidated an emergency dispatcher with guns. They say he killed himself on September 1st because his theft of thousands of dollars from a youth program he oversaw was about to be exposed. Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy says the murder of a 9-year-old city boy is among the most unfathomable of his 35 years in policing. Police say Tyshawn Lee was walking to his grandmother's house Monday when he was lured into an alley and executed because of his father's alleged gang connections. The child's father, Pierre Stokes, says police have spent more time pursuing him than finding out who killed his son. Well, of course, he's going to say that. Well, tragedy, to be sure. He's still an alleged gang member. And I'm sure there's probably some sort of reason the police are following you. Just a thought. Officials in Windsor, Ontario plan another road closure near the Ambassador Bridge amid concerns about fallen debris from the international span linking the city with Detroit. The Detroit Free Press reported Thursday University Drive near the bridge has reopened. Now officials say Riverside Drive will close and remain so until the repairs are completed to prevent more falling debris. Streets were closed last month as a precaution after a visual inspection of the bridge's underside. Those reopened after Detroit International Bridge Company installed planking on sections of the underside. Bridge Company President Dan Stamper has said officials installed a retention system under the bridge out of caution. Bridge owner Matty Maroon says to build a new span adjacent to the current bridge, but efforts have been stymied. Several museums in Great Lakes states are holding events for the 40th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald sinking. 729-foot iron ore carrier went down November 10th, 1975 in Lake Superior. All 29 crew members had perished. Lansing State Journal reports that Michigan State University Museum has an exhibit called Iron Hulls and Turbulent Waters. Exhibits and events are also planned at other museums in the state and Toledo, Ohio. The Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum in Whitefish Point hosts a memorial on November 10th each year. The museum displays the bell of the wrecked ship. It will toll 29 times for each crew member and a 30th for all lost on the Great Lakes. Events will also be held at museums in South Haven and Detroit. And if you've never seen the life rafts, they're not rafts, but boats that came from the Fitzgerald and some of the museums, it's amazing. And of course, probably being Michigan residents, you have no doubt whatsoever what the Great Lakes are capable of, and just amazes me. And here, I think it was in 2006 or 2007 that a life ring from the Fitzgerald washed up on a shore up in the UP and was found. Very interesting that it took that long, but we come upon the 40th anniversary here, November 10th, and man, still to this day, absolute mystery. They've found the ship, they've got the bell, they've recovered some things, but the 29, of course, will never be found. 14 minutes after the top of the hour, I'm Duran Martinez in for Steve Gruber. 888-900-9966 if you'd like to join the conversation here on the Steve Gruber Show.
Genuine Michigan common sense on display every day.
Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living and doing the best I can.
Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show. Duran Martinez in for Steve. 888-900-9966. 888-900-9966 if you'd like to join the conversation with me here this morning. Love to have you on. Brian, Southern Michigan. Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
I'm great. Good morning, Grant.
How are you?
There's an old saying that says an idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Socialist Party have a bunch of idle minds, so they sit around smoking their ganja and thinking about ways how they can destroy people. They can destroy businesses. They can destroy churches. They can destroy a well-armed America because they're very resentful. And then they get mad after the cotton candy factory has been shut down that they can't get their cotton candy anymore because the guy that runs the company has been put into prison. What do you think about that, Duran?
Well, Brian, I appreciate the call, and this is common sense radio. I can't help but agree with you on a lot of those things. I don't know. You know, when you got Bernie Sanders coming up saying I'll support getting rid of the penalties for marijuana and the like. You know, how are we supposed to take that guy seriously? And he is catering to, you know, those who look. I'm gonna say this. I know there are some good medicinal uses for this, but getting a card because you have a ingrown toenail is crap.
Well, if only they would do what John F. Kennedy said. Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. They would be more focused on helping this country out than hurting this country.
Absolutely. Brian, appreciate your call this morning in Southern Michigan, 888-900-9966. I'm not kidding, man. The more I watch Bernie Sanders, the less serious I can even remotely take him seriously. I mean, look, it's obvious, the admitted socialist and not doing well. But what surprises me, and I know this probably surprises everybody else with a thread of common decency in their body, is how many are still so behind him and Hillary Clinton. I don't get it. I don't get it. If you get it, let me know. Love to talk to you. I would love to hear the reasoning behind it. 888-900-9966 this morning. The Steve Gruber Show. Duran Martinez filling in for Steve. Authorities say a pilot reported a laser pointed into his cockpit as he approached a western Michigan airport. The Muskegon Chronicle reports the pilot said that the green laser beam came into the cockpit Wednesday evening on his approach into the Mason County Airport in Paramarquette Township near Ludington. Sheriff Kim Cole says a search found nothing, but the Federal Aviation Administration is expected to investigate. It is a federal crime to point lasers at planes, and the pilot was literally hauling the mail. Not in the figurative tense, but literally. 47-year-old man has pleaded guilty in the deaths of 3 people whose bodies were found in a burned-out car in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Local reports up there say Gary Cordell made the plea Thursday in a Schoolcraft County court to murder charges in the deaths of 31-year-old Carrie Nelson, 25-year-old Heather Aldrich, and 42-year-old Jody Hutchinson. They were found April 17th in Doyle Township, 70 miles southeast of Marquette. Police have said the motive appears to be drug-related. He faces life in prison without parole at sentencing, which it tentatively is scheduled for December 10th. Now, yesterday in Lansing, there was a bit of a hubbub on the city's somewhat south side. It appears 8 teenagers ranging in the age group of 13 to 18, mind you, 8, allegedly tried to break into a house where the homeowner responded with gunfire. 2 of them being hit, one being taken by his alleged perpetrator friend, the other one caught in the woods, and the others arrested during traffic stops. Okay. 8 people trying to break into one house, one armed owner protecting himself. More news will be coming in on this, but again, I'm glad to see, and I'm going to make this clear, I'm glad to see that these stories of protection and people standing up for themselves are coming out. We are starting to see more stories of legally armed citizens protecting themselves, and criminals getting the bad end of it. Plain and simple. These stories were not visible in the media. But still, there's much work to be done to better educate people about firearms and protection in general. 888-900-9966. I'm Duran Martinez in for Steve Gruber today. Chris Christie and Mike Huckabee have learned that they'll be bumped to the undercard event along with Rick Santorum and Bobby Jindal. George Pataki and Lindsey Graham have been cut from the lineup altogether. Debate sponsor Fox Business Network says who takes part in the debate depends on how they rank in the latest polls. And Chris Christie is not going away. He firmly believes that he's going to win this whole thing. Even Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson doesn't seem to think his campaign ad featuring rap lyrics is the best idea. Carson said Thursday he probably would have taken a little different approach when he asked about the new ad during book signing events in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The minute-long ad features rapper aspiring mogul who raps at one point during the ad, "Vote and support Ben Carson for our next president and be awesome." I'm sure the translation was lost a little bit there. Parts of Carson's campaign and speeches are interspersed between the lyrics and the ad, so I'm just not going to rap. I'm not going to try it. But it was approved by Dr. Ben Carson. I'm Duran Martinez, 25 after the hour. This is the Steve Gruber Show on the Michigan Talk Network with a devil's haircut.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world. Filling in for Steve Gruber, here is Duran Martinez.
You don't have to walk on my dear.
Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show on a Friday morning, 27 minutes away from the top of the hour. Miami. You know, it's almost as warm here in Michigan these past couple of days, but today not going to be as warm. But Miami, the Miami Car Show going on. Patrick Hernandez from the East Coast Communications joining us. The new Cadillac CT6 luxury sedan, high performance Cadillac V-Series making their Florida debut down there. The Chevy Malibu and Buick Cascada. Am I saying that right?
You are actually.
Good. Okay, good. Because you know that's going to get chopped up. Somebody's going to call it the Cascada, but the Cascada is the convertible on display. Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Doing well. Miami, the car show is going on, and GM unveiling some new attractions down there.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit quite a few of them, with the Buick Cascada being the first convertible in 25 years. Definitely a huge vehicle for Florida, where later today it's going to be about 85 degrees, probably a little bit warmer than Michigan. But of course, we also have the first Miami show debut of the CT6, which is a major vehicle for our market down here in the South Florida.
You know, it's funny because even here in Michigan, the Cadillacs, I mean, are everywhere. I mean, it's one of those things that I don't think that had I thought about it years ago that you would see as many as you do, but especially in today's economy. But there are a lot of them out on the road.
Well, yeah, we have really focused on redesigning and improving the experience that you have in a Cadillac, from refined interior materials to a major seller is performance, and especially with our new V-Series and going into the V-Series is the third generation. We've really provided a racetrack experience with a luxury feel, and that is something that Cadillac is moving forward in, making sure that performance is a key part of all our vehicles. But of course, having an amazing design, completely new look, and even a new feel with the new headquarters being in New York.
Yeah, they've become almost stealth fighter looking in their design with their clean cut lines and their performance, but they're still appealing. I mean, not only to the younger crowd, but they still appeal to that older crowd that has been Cadillac savvy for so long.
Absolutely, and it really has to do with having a great legacy. The history behind Cadillac is monumental. And then just the direction moving forward in the vehicles that we are having here at the show, the CT6 being one of the largest sedans that we have, beautifully designed, completely brand new, the first one that we've ever had, but always finding those cues that help people remember the wonderful cars that we've had in our history. But looking back is always important when you're looking forward, and seeing the opportunities that we have with CT6 and being the first time that we've had with this with the amazing technology that we have for safety, for luxury, and then also with the CTSV and the ATSV. I mean, who doesn't want to get behind the wheel a supercharged 6.2-liter V8.
Okay, I smiled.
And the experience behind the wheel is incredible, but not only are you going at amazing speeds, you're going to be enjoying the finer things of life when you're driving that vehicle.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not a big car guy, to be honest with you. I like my trucks, but when you said that and then you said supercharged, I did smile a little. So
It's a good cause to smile, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about this Buick Cascada. Speaking with Patrick Hernandez from East Coast Communications, I looked at the two-door coupe, and Buick is also making some big strides to appeal to that younger generation because historically Buick has always been the almost Cadillac of the line for GM.
Absolutely, and moving forward with Buick, we are focusing on a brand new design. The Cascada is definitely one of the forefront runners of a new direction that Buick is going in. And with having a convertible, and this is the first convertible in 25 years, and is playing to a lot of things. One, design, a new sense of comfort and experience, but also of technology. I mean, from just the way that the top retracts, and that's just in about 17 seconds for that to go from a fully covered car to a completely topless vehicle, to the interior technology that we've been focusing on with 4G LTE, which has been a major seller in a lot of our vehicles, but also just the experience that we have with making the design a lot more dramatic and being one of those opportunities to really show that Buick doesn't always look like a Buick, and that's a great thing.
Exactly. I mean, like I said, Buick has always been that second in line for the luxury. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying they've been a little bit more moderately priced compared to the Cadillac. What I'm seeing from this Cascada right now, $33,000 MSRP, starting around there. But what really is surprising is the 200 horsepower out of a 1.6-liter four-cylinder.
Right. The engineers at Buick have been doing an amazing job in making sure that, one, we'll be able to provide great fuel economy, but it's a convertible, and when we're taking those vehicles out on the road, you definitely want to have a good experience driving, and especially when you're cruising, whether on the West Coast, Pacific Coast Highway, or down here in Miami and Florida, that you're going to have a little bit of kick behind the wheel, that it gives you that extra surge of excitement, especially as you're pulling down that top.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see, as we approach winter. But again, you're in Miami. Here in Michigan, we had 75, 76 degrees in November, which is record-breaking, and that would have been a nice car for those days. But as we progress through November into December, it's only going to get colder, and we're only going to have to put it away until we get to look at it in the spring, which is about July for us.
Right. Hey, but you love those things which you aren't able to have most of the time, right?
You know what? And that's just it. That's why I don't own a boat, because I don't want to pay for something that I get to use 2.5 months out of the year. But I do love boats also. But speaking with Patrick Hernandez here from East Coast Communications, we talked about the new Buick, also the CT6 luxury sedan, new Malibu coming as well. So
absolutely, the new Malibu is incredible. It's redesigned from the ground up. A longer wheelbase, which means more interior space for our consumers, and also chock full of technology. One of our key focuses has been Teen Driver, which is a new system that we have that really helps parents understand and hopefully encourage conversation from parents to their teens on how they're driving. Now, the Teen Driver system keeps track of distance driven. It keeps track of the maximum speed that was reached while driving. If anybody or the driver goes over any speed limits that have been assigned, loses control of the vehicle just slightly. And so it's pretty much giving a report on how a teen is driving. And so it's definitely something that's focused on safety, making sure that, one, the driver is paying attention to what they're doing. I mean, some of the fun features that if the Teen Driver system is turned on, unless everybody in the car has their seatbelts on, the radio will stay on mute. There's an automatic volume control. It's really something that allows for that kind of control for parents, but more importantly for the conversation between parents and their teens because of a lot of the distractions that are now happening behind the wheel.
Absolutely. Patrick Hernandez, appreciate you joining us. Appreciate that insight on the new cars at the Miami Auto Show. Steve Gruber Show on the Michigan Talk Network.
Delivering Michigan common sense with a big dose of truth and honesty. Filling in for Steve Gruber, here's Duran Martinez.
Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show on a Friday. I'm Duran Martinez, and for some of those listening all over the Great Lakes state, had some storms roll through the Lansing area. Also up into Clinton County, some trees down out in the Clinton County area, so please be advised. Some power outages and lights out, so treat those as a four-way stop. And, the common sense just keeps rolling on this show today. Free for All Friday, 888-900-9966. If you'd like to join the conversation, speaking with Seton Motley, the founder and president of Less Government. A novel idea, Seton. A novel idea.
It's been a bad century for it in Washington, D.C.
It has, and we were only, 15 years in? So
the last century I'm talking about, the 20th, going back to Woodrow Wilson.
Well, okay, yeah, I'm not forgetting history.
No, that's the left's job. We exist to reduce the size, scope, and sphere of influence of government.
Absolutely. Now, let's the term troll is being added to everything nowadays. You have the Facebook troll, the internet troll, the news troll, whatever. One I've not heard of is a patent troll. What exactly is that?
Depends on who you ask. The people who are pushing this horrible patent, quote-unquote, reform legislation, the patent troll is exclusively someone who has a bad patent, meaning it's overly broad or whatever, and then shotguns lawsuit letters all over the place, shaking down companies for money. Now, those of us who actually like the patent system to continue working agree that those people exist. But there's two problems with their definition of patent troll. One, they don't acknowledge the fact that the original sin is the government. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office approved a patent they shouldn't have approved. Because if they didn't have a patent, they couldn't sue anybody. And two, legitimate patent holders legitimately defending their patents from thieves have to file lawsuits, which means that they look exactly like patent trolls. And how can you write legislation that only affects patent trolls filing lawsuits without also damaging legitimate patent holders filing legitimate patent lawsuits?
Now, it seems like it's pretty broad. And what is the process for patent? Because I know people that go through this. I know friends that have numerous patents, but you would think when they're looking at the patent itself, they would be able to say at one point in time that, this is kind of open to interpretation as to, the exact patent that they're going for.
Yeah, again, the government has a process to which it's supposed to adhere, and there was about a 10-year window there where they were issuing patents like a Pez dispenser. And that's the mess we're trying to clean up now. They have gotten better and tightened up the patent approval process. It could always use some more assistance. But none of these reform bills that they're talking about, the Innovation Act in the House, the Patent Act in the Senate, neither one even barely addresses the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. It's all about making it harder to sue to defend your patent. And so they're not, it doesn't address the real problem, and it dramatically undermines the entire patent system in the process.
Speaking with Seton Motley here, the founder and president of Less Government, here on the Steve Gruber Show. Living in a super litigious society already, these people that are looking for, more court cases to fill an already overburdened system, I'm just, have they nothing better to do? Is that a fair question?
The patent trolls? Well, it's a way to make money. They they usually get bought off and paid off by the people they contact to just go away. And some of them stand and fight. Verizon, for instance, has made it a corporate decision to not pay off these people. But and I don't think Verizon's engaged in too much patent thievery. But again, the problem is the legitimate patent holder looks legally just like a patent troll. Because that's what he has to do to protect his patent, is to file a lawsuit. And to separate those two is microsurgery, and as we all know, the government can't do microsurgery. It slams with hammers. It's going to crush everybody suing to protect patents, and it cannot differentiate between legitimate patent holders and patent trolls. It's impossible. It's almost impossible to write a law that would do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. You know, again, I fully understand those protecting their patents. Again, I have friends that have patents and are protective but then again, these things that they do are in a very unique industry, and it's not really flooded with that kind of thievery, at least here in the U.S.
Google is a worldwide thief, an omnidirectional thief. They steal all the time in every conceivable way, and they're one of the lead dogs pushing this reform legislation because they want this particular brand of thievery legalized. And so one of my operational mottos is, if you're on the side of Google, it's time to reform.
And a fair one at that. Seton Motley, appreciate you joining us here on the show today.
Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Seton Motley, the founder and president of Less Government here on the Steve Gruber Show. I'm Duran Martinez. Going to go to, real quickly, Frank in DeWitt. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. This is such a good show. Well, everybody, it looks like Western civilization is collapsing around us. So, the book says it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. So instead of just cursing the darkness and saying all the bad things that Obama and everything else is doing, I thought I'd ask your opinion. I think the only thing that can give us hope out there is to turn back to the Judeo-Christian worldview that Western civilization is based on.
Frank and DeWitt, appreciate your call. 888-900-9966. The Steve Gruber Show.